Do you want to finger paint with me? Maybe make a little papier-mâché sculpture.
Sun had been bothering you all night. You looked at him, and he hesitated only for a second. Any employee would have shooed him away, but you are incapable of doing that. After all, you too were an animatronic. You're part of the newest generation of circus baby animatronics. The old large bulky design abandoned for a more sleek 80s look. You had a wide, ever-present smile. Red ponytails with lime green tips. Were dressed in an American diner-style uniform dress. And you even had extendable roller blades beneath your feet. You had many abilities that made you a more efficient worker. You were integrated into the waiter staff bot network, allowing you to see through their eyes, order them around, and even make them abandon one of the restaurants in the pizza plex to move to another when there were too many customers. You had also been used to replace Glamrock Bonnie. Well, yes, there were still Glamrock Bonnies in use in other Frasper locations, such as the Bonnie Bowl, a full-on bowling franchise somewhere upper New York. The new Pizzaplex, where you were active in, was entirely meant to be a continuation of the old one, as if Frasper Entertainment wanted to sweep away the existence of the original Pizzaplex under the rug. Or, well, that's how it appeared. If it wasn't for Memorial Lane, an attraction that shared the same section of the building as Rockstar Row, where old artifacts from the past are displayed, including a still functioning daycare attendant who had been extracted from the old location. He was in a sorry state, and in a sorry state he'd remain. Just the sharp and pokey bits had been removed to avoid injury. After all, you gotta give the customers the full experience of reliving a dark chapter. Funny enough, it was here classic-style pizza was served, just to artificially increase the interest customers had in Memorial Lane. Though classic-style pizza was literally just a regular margarita pizza with just a squeeze of garlic oil. It really wasn't anything special, but customers got a customer. The convenience of not having to say extra garlic please was enough, and the classic-style pizza sold very well. Sun poked your cheek, making you narrow your eyes.
Shouldn't you be in the daycare?
You hissed.
Yay, she can talk!
Sun clapped his hands excitedly as he made a somersault. You grumbled. Since your construction, Sun had been bothering you on an almost nightly basis. It was annoying you to no end. Sadly though, you weren't built to retaliate, only to tolerate. But tolerance of something doesn't mean acceptance, so you just chose to glare at him whenever he wasn't looking.
Why are you here?
The robot's sun rays wiggled excitedly.
Because you're my favorite Glamrock.
I'm not a Glamrock. You weren't built for the stage. Stage fright actually had been built into you. To avoid your customer service from outshining any live performance. Not to mention, it also allowed you to ignore the performances and continue delivering meals to hungry customers during them.
But you are to me, Miss Baby.
He lunged onto your counter, putting his hands on his head. Legs arched up, toes wiggling in the air excitedly.
I am programmed with certain knowledge and daily routines in the Pizzaplex. I am very well aware of your situation.
You looked back at the bowling alley. It was dark, as the Pizzaplex was currently experiencing a blackout. These happened on an hourly basis for a few minutes at night.
You're here because the decorative lights in my diner remain active, and they're just bright enough to keep Moon under control. Nah, I never.
Sun rolled on his back. Raising one arm, he lazily pointed at you.
I never, he repeated.
Then go. For a split second, he gazed into what to him looked like an inky abyss.
No. Oh, how can I prove to my dear circus baby that I am serious with my feelings of liking you?
You tilted your head with narrowed eyes.
So you're certain?
The robot gulped as your face came closer to his. Your round red clown nose tooting as it touched his. You leaned back, crossing your arms.
I don't believe you.
Sun giggled helplessly. There are still a bunch of blackouts tonight, and if he screwed up with you, you'd lock him out of Bonnie Ball for the rest of the night. His head turned upside down with a loud swoosh.
I mean, I like your hair.
Your head heated up at the compliment. You heard thermochromic ink on your cheeks that would turn red whenever you got a compliment. It was a function deeply written into your code, and you had no control over it. Hissing, you put your hands on your face. Safe to say, compliments were one of your weaknesses.
I think I saw a smile. I know, and I hate it.
Sun purred.
But it's cute. Shut up! You know, this could be fixed if you just stopped hiding your face. I don't want you to see me blush.
Sun giggled, amused by your reaction.
I wouldn't even react this way if it literally wasn't coded into me like this.
Normally you just took each compliment with stride, but when it was him all snarky, it made you feel terrible.
You're just shy. It's completely fine.
Angrily you slammed your fists on the bar, making the glasses beneath it clanker. But Sun was completely unfazed by your outburst.
I think you're starting to like me. Get out! Nuh-uh.
You closed your eyes patiently for a moment. An idea came to you, but the thing was, you weren't sure if it would have the desired outcome. But at the same time, it was pure sadism fueling you.
Let's make a bet.
You mused. You had Sun's undivided attention.
You're going to stay here all night, even after the blackouts.
Usually, the moment the lights turned back on, he immediately said that he had his oven still on. Just to get back to his daycare. It was the reason you thought he only came here to remain a son. Though there was a problem that you yourself didn't realize, which you would later learn about. To your surprise, the daycare attendant stretched his hand out. Deal. You blinked perplexed, expecting him to say no instantly, giving you an edge over and kicking him out. And reluctantly you shook the robot's hand. Soon thereafter the lights returned, and when the ceiling lights turned back on, he jumped off the chair, only to then take a step back. He raised a finger.
That was a trick. You were waiting for this moment to suggest it, weren't you? Maybe. Oh, I so love the little mind games you play, Miss Baby.
He cooed like a pigeon, and amused you leaned against the bar with a smug grin. Time only trickled down slowly. Sun had decided to use the colored wax tips of his fingers to draw on various napkins you had left out, while you stared blankly at the advertisement screen of Bonnie Ball. Another built-in weakness as an American diner baby was that you were distracted by TV screens very easily. You could spend hours just staring at them, if it wasn't for customers giving you orders. It was then that Sun suddenly squeaked, and your gaze finally shifted to the animatronic. On his knees, he approached you on the counter.
Ah, the night guard is coming! So? Why is that my problem? You have to hide me! I'm not supposed to be here!
You deadpanned. That's the reason why you wanted him gone in the first place.
Please, Miss Baby!
Fine. The moment you said that, the road crawled over, slamming loudly on the ground, and then he was between your legs. Your face turned red again. You could feel his fingers scrape against your thighs. Moments later, the night guard arrived. Tonight, it was Terminator's turn. The nickname given to the guard had become such a common terminology, you yourself didn't even have his real name programmed into you. If due to the language barrier he didn't speak in third person, you might as well never have known his real name. The large Russian man sat down on the bar stool in front of you.
Dimitri needs break. Funny clown machine.
Sure thing, darling.
You winked.
Dimitri is having trouble. Dimitri can find annoying daycare machine.
You shuddered. Sun had squeezed your leg as he realized you were talking about him. The large man sighed.
Ugh. Not even sparring session with Little Lizard helped Dimitri's concern.
You mean Montgomery?
Is there other Little Lizard in Pizza Plex?
You shook your head.
Just making sure, darling. Why do you never call me darling?
Hushed Sun quietly. Purposefully, you kicked the robot.
What was that?
Nothing, Terminator. Would you like a coffee?
Da, coffee good.
You reached under the bar, feeling for the coffee nozzle. And the ever so helpful daycare attendant leaned forward, almost exposing himself to give it to you. You suppressed the urge to say thanks as you filled a glass with fresh hot coffee. However, as you placed it for the guard, you needed to apologize.
I'm sorry, but my milk tanks are empty for the night.
It was a controversial design decision, as behind your chest you had both a tank for milk and whipped cream, which you could spray through your fingertips. The obvious mommy milkers jokes had been carefully banned off the Pizza Plex's text chatting apps and websites.
Dimitri think black. As Dimitri's regular order for coffee is not on menu.
There was a reason his local Starbucks baristas hated him. The man might be a testosterone incarnate, but when it came to food and drinks, he was the equivalent of a spoiled 12-year-old girl. Dimitri took only a small sip of his coffee, wishing for a large heap of whipped cream and caramel drizzle at least. As you were waiting for Dimitri to leave, Sun's fingers were uncomfortably crawling up and down your legs, making you shiver.
Is funny clown machine alright?
Of course I am.
You stuttered. Sun realized your reaction and continued to move his fingers around your legs. His hand slowly reached up towards your hips as the time passed. You tried to discreetly kick Sun to get him to stop, but he restricted your movements with his own legs. You cursed your body for reacting to his touch. Dimitri raised an eyebrow at you.
Should Dimitri call engineer for funny clown machine?
I'm perfectly sharp as always. You know, Sun probably finished cleaning the play area and went to his alcove to fool around there. Did you think to check there? Or maybe Moon didn't make it back to the daycare now as Sun aimlessly wandering around the plex?
You faked concern, and one of your hands came down to Sun's head to scratch at his rays. Sun only retracting them. His head laid on your legs and rubbed against your thighs like a cat. The Russian went silent for a minute before placing a hand on his chin.
Da, is possible. Dimitri could full sweep for silly daycare machine. Being skittish and being lost is problem. But Dimitri has coffee now. Should be an easy for Dimitri.
He chugged the rest of his coffee and stood up to leave.
If you see a machine, contact me or escort them back to daycare. Dimitri not care what you do with silly daycare machine. Dimitri just wants to know if machine is still working.
You gave the guard a nod and he marched off. You waited until he was far enough out of sight before you dropped below the counter.
Son, you...
You were cut off before you could finish. Your programming preventing you from saying what you wanted. Though what you did do was pressing him into the wall and pressing your forearm against his neck. You played it off as you playing with him to pass it off as passive.
Calm down, Miss Baby. I was only fooling around. I was bored.
Though as he said that, his rays popped back out and were twitching back and forth.
Sure you were. I should just call you out right now.
You had a scowl on your face as Sun shook his head and his hands up in surrender. Your eyes then caught sight of the ribbons around his wrists, and you held up a smirk.
What was that you said before? How can you prove your feelings to me? I know exactly how.
You grabbed both of Sun's hands with yours and began to unwrap the ribbons from his wrist. Yeah, but what are you doing with those? His head tilted as you tied the ribbons together. We are going to be playing a fun game as payback and as a test. This game is going to be one you have never played before, but can only play with me. I love games. What is it called? Also, why do I need to be tied up? You managed through all his moving around to get his hands tied together and around one of the poles under the counter. You trust me, right? This game will require that. Darling. As soon as you used that nickname, you had Sun at full attention, rays spinning like an overpowered fan. Good. Now, this game is simple. I'm going to play with you, and you need to stay as silent as possible. Meaning I shouldn't be able to hear you or those bells of yours. You don't want to be found, right? Sun vigorously nodded his head, but the bells began to ring softly. Silent. He stopped and leaned back, relaxed. You scooted closer to him and placed your hands on his shoulders. You trailed them down his arms, over his chest, and then his neck. The robot began to giggle. This is so silly. How is this playing? You cut him off by placing your lips on his unmoving teeth. If Sun could blush, he would. And you caught him to it, your cheeks lighting up. His rays violently twitched. His fans could be heard in the silence. Your hands moved to his rays and gripped tight, thumbs rubbing them in little circles. He began to whine a little, and you knew he found the right spot. You're staying silent. But I guess you can't help the sound of your insides. Keep it that way, or I'll stop. You giggled quietly, kissed Sun again. The rest of the night was going to be rough on him. And it's gonna be one hell of a time for you. Thank you to the people who are supporting me on Ko-fi. You guys are keeping me alive.